We'll do the Greasy Strangler next, which I'm. This should be interesting because we've got a fairly similar film taste, I would say.
Yes,
a lot of the time on the show, we've come in here and agreed. It's kind of why we bring guests in, just to spice things up, because we kind of do a lot of agreeing. I mean, not so far today, but
When we don't agree.
When we don't agree, I mean, this is going to be something quite extraordinary because we're at totally different ends of the spectrum on this one. So I'm excited.
I'm the midpoint. I'm the referee.
You're the
referee.
to keep things civil. Yeah. We've already promised a very lively, fiery affair. We've got to live up to it. Let's get into it. This is the Greasy Strangler.
Indeed it is. Disclaimer,
Go
it is
on.
greasy.
It is.
It's the greasiest film you'll ever see, probably. It is covered in grease. So the Greasy Strangler is directed by Jim Hosking, and we've had a lot of hype going on this film, haven't we?
Well, I've seen it hyped by other people, and that caused me to be sort of mildly hyped for it.
Yeah, I remember seeing all of this. Just some of them was just. It's one of those films that you just know it's gonna happen, and it's gonna happen a lot.
Whether you like it or not,
it's gonna happen all over you. So this is his second film after the ABCs of Death 2.
Right,
so,
he did one of the segments of that.
Yeah, he did one of the segments of that film, and with The Greasy Strangler, it's just a bit of a different film. So basically, Michael St. Michael's is Ronnie, and his son Braden, played by Sky Elobar. Basically, they run a disco tour of Los Angeles, and basically they go to all of the disco hotspots and stuff like that.
Well, made up
disco hotspots, like the like the place where the earth, the wind, and the fire were prominent. And a tourist called Janet happens upon them one day and falls in love with Braden. However, Ronnie is extremely jealous of this and ends up falling in love with Janet himself, and that forms a weird love triangle between the two of them, the three of them, and the fact that Ronnie is the Greasy Strangler, which is just a bit of a spanner in the works, isn't it?
And the Greasy Strangler is just a guy who goes around covered in grease, strangling people.
Just Ronnie dressed in lots of grease, strangling people.
Yeah,
it's a very, very messy film. It's a very, very greasy film. It's a very, very dirty film. It's a filthy film, and I laughed harder than any film I've seen in years and years. I from start to finish, I just couldn't hold it in. Like it was one of those proper cinema experiences that you live for, because when everyone's into it, as much as people were, you can't help but to get swept away by it, because everyone was just. It was just one of those things that you can't look away, but you have to, because you know you'll miss something, and you want to look away, but you just can't, because the thing's just getting more and more over the top and more puerile and more offensive and more horrific, and it just gets worse and worse, and that escalation does not stop for the entire hour and a half that it's on for. And it's just it's one of those films that you can't explain it, you just got to ride with it, because it is a cinema experience of the purest shock value that you can get, because it's going for shocks, it's going for the lowest brow humour possible, and it does that in the perfect way that you would imagine it to. It's oh my god, I love this film.
So that's one side of the story.
Yeah.
You can sort of guess where I'm going to go with this one.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to start by saying this, and I feel like it's very important to put this in because I don't want this to happen. So I'm saying at this point that this is going to be a foolproof negative review of The Greasy Strangler that the marketing campaign or the marketing team behind this film cannot use against me to promote their film. Because I don't want to be involved in promoting their film. That is the last thing I want to do. Because there's been their reign of terror. If you go on their Twitter or anything like that, you'll see that they've been routinely screenshotting Amazon reviews, IMDb reviews, Letterboxd, Rotten Tomatoes, of critics who didn't like it because they perceived that they didn't understand it.
Which is quite brilliant.
It's just pathetic, really. So I am making sure at this point, making it very clear that I don't wish to be part of this promotional campaign. So you haven't got my permission to use this against me. I think I tweeted the Tyneside afterwards saying, can you please promise to deep clean the projector lens when this film is finished, because I feel like the Tyneside has been degraded slightly by this film. It's dirty, and it's the problem with The Greasy Strangler. And you said several key words that I want to bring up. Messy. But you mean that as in it's messy the grease and stuff. I think it's a messy film on more levels than that. You said it gets worse and worse. I agree with that. It does get worse and worse in terms of quality, because the first 5 minutes you sort of go, that's funny. Big prosthetic penis, that's quite funny. And then it happens again and again and again and again and again for another 85 minutes until it's finished, and nothing really funny happens. It's just kind of big big prosthetic things, and it's not really that interesting. It's been compared to things like John Waters. There's been things about Tim and Eric as well. I would say Tim and Eric is fair enough because their best bits are normally around a few minutes long, and that's what this would have been. This would have been fine if it was a few minutes long, but over 90 minutes, it is absolutely grueling. It is punishingly long to spend recycling the same thing over and over again. And Ryan's not even listening to me. He's not even entertaining it. The joke wears thin incredibly fast. It's all shock. There's no substance. The best thing about John Waters films is that they've got the frontal stuff. They've got the stuff on the screen that is repulsive, but it comes from an authentic place. And the stuff underneath that, the characters are damaged, and they've got things about them that are, disturbing and unique and are worthy of a laugh because they're kind of traumatizing. The Greasy Strangler it's all about the frontal shock value. There's nothing beneath it at all. There's nothing that I would say is offensive. I think it's just some good makeup work, some very creaky makeup work as well. Very imbalanced of the two. Nothing worth getting worked up about. It's not it's not worthy of the hype. It really isn't. It's just insubstantial. I didn't like it at all, and I say this again. I don't want this. I get why people would like it. That we were in a crowd of people who, I believe, are part of some kind of cult group. Because I'm sure I've seen them before at Pink Flamingos.
Yeah.
And they loved it. They applauded at the end, which baffles me completely. But I understand why people do like it. I'm not going to hold it against you. I understand the film. I just didn't enjoy it, and I thought it could have. You can't replicate that kind of John Waters magic. You can't fake it. You can't fraud it like they have. But people do like it, and that's fine. But I think it's trash, and the bad kind of trash. I know they want it to be trash, but it's not the kind of trash they want it to be. I think it's poor.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's very poor.
People,
and the screening we were in, they did a raffle at the start, and they gave out goodie bags. And the raffle was to win a copy of the poster and a copy of the Blu-ray. If I'd won that, it would have sat on my shelf between Goodfellas and The Great Beauty. And I wouldn't dare let it touch those things. I wouldn't put it anywhere near my Blu-ray.
I would have taken it.
It would have gone in the bin, or I would have thrown it at Ryan very hard, like thrown it like there you can have it, and I would have burned the poster. Greasy Strangler, not one to recommend, but Ryan, you love it.
People have been compared to the worst of trauma, and I definitely did see a lot of Pink Flamingos in it because it's got stuff in there that you don't want to look at, but you have to because he holds the shots for so long, and the performances are so one note and stuff like that, and just like it's all just things that go on for so long, but it's
fake.
Hilarious.
But it's just fake.
I don't understand why we have this divide. Oh, but yeah, honestly, I was laughing the whole way through. I was crying half of the time,
So
and
you recommend them?
absolutely recommend. Yeah, it's an absolutely brilliant shock horror. It's a proper assault on the senses. You don't want to look, you don't want to hear, and it'll stick in the memory for a long time. Like,
I didn't want to look at it or hear it, and it will stick in my memory for a long time, but only because I want to scrub my brain until I can never think about it ever again. Right, should we move on to a kids' film then?
yeah.